And welcome into another episode of Skyhawk Sports Talk. Gregory here. It's Zaxby's in Martin, Tennessee. So glad you all could join us for another episode. Extremely busy week in Skyhawk Athletics. We'll get right to that here in our opening segment. This week in Skyhawk Athletics, starting out with golf. They are playing today and tomorrow in the Gulf Coast Collegiate in New Orleans, Louisiana at the English Turn GCC. Softball, they've got a lot of action here this week at the 2025 ACES Tournament. That is today, playing Western Michigan. That started at 10 a.m. and then they'll play Evansville at 3 p.m. They'll have the Tennessee Invitational coming up this weekend, playing Delaware State and Indiana State on Friday, and then number 5 Tennessee, the Lady Vols, at 11:30 on Saturday. Then they'll have another game on Saturday. That's TBD, and then another one on Sunday, also TBD. Track and field, they will have the OVC Indoor Championships Tuesday through Wednesday in Indianapolis, Indiana. And we'll hear from head coach Jolita Henderson next week to recap all the action in those events. For baseball, they'll be at Murray State at 2 p.m. on Tuesday, coming off a win in the series finale against Georgia State. And then this week in the MTSU tournament, they'll be at MTSU at noon on Friday, and then Old Dominion at noon on Saturday. And wrap things up with St. Bonaventure at 4 p.m. on Sunday in Murfreesboro. Beach volleyball, they'll get their season started. We'll have head coach Jaclynn Wilson join us on the podcast later today. The Tiger Beach Challenge in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, hosted by LSU, will get things started for the Skyhawks, going for a 4th straight OVC championship. They'll play South Florida at 8 a.m. on Friday, Southeastern Louisiana at 3:30, also on Friday, and then LSU at 10:30 on Saturday, and Louisiana Monroe at 1 p.m. on Saturday. For men's basketball, final week of home games for both basketball teams at the Kathleen and Tom Elam Center. Got a code orange on Thursday. The Skyhawk men playing Southern Indiana at 7:30, and then taking on Morehead State at 3:30 on Saturday. That will be senior day. And the women's basketball team, again, code orange for Southern Indiana, playing them at 5:30 on Thursday, and then they'll have Morehead State on Saturday for senior day at 3:30. Make sure to come out, support all of our Skyhawks for their great careers and for choosing UT Martin. Well, we'll go ahead and take a break, and when we come back, we'll have head coach of the UT Martin men's basketball team, Jeremy Shulman, and assistant coach John Aiken join us right here on Skyhawk Sports Talk.
Skyhawk Sports Talk podcast is brought to you by Weekly Ford Nissan.
And we're back here, Skyhawk Sports Talk. Gregory here with me, head coach of the UT Martin men's basketball team, Jeremy Shulman, and assistant coach John Aiken as the Skyhawks, their final week in the OVC regular season. And despite the 2 losses last week, have clinched a spot in the OVC tournament in the first year under you all's leadership for this group. I mean, let's go ahead and talk about that first. I know not the results that you wanted this week, but still being able to clinch a spot in the tournament and to be able to be at the Ford Center, that's a major accomplishment in year 1.
Yeah, we're very excited about that. Obviously, we think we got a lot of ball left in us this year, and so we're still trying to push the right buttons and do the right things so we can, make a big jump. But, I'm proud of what we've done so far. It's I heard a really good psychologist say this, a couple months ago, and I've really taken it. Said, instead of worrying about the future, say, look how far we've come. Look where we've come since we got this group together with after David Kamwanga got hurt, no returning players. No returning players have played 1 minute this year for us. Brand new roster, brand new coaching staff, great league, the 361st youngest team. And look how far we've come. And it's exciting. And, I think that means we got a really bright future.
And, John, you know how hard it is to win in this conference year in and year out and to qualify as one of the top 8 teams. I mean, what does it mean for you for first year with all these new guys and then, boom, you're already in the tournament?
Yeah, I think it speaks a lot to Jeremy's vision for the program. We were just talking at lunch, and he was asking me about just some of my thoughts on the year. And I said, Coach, like our roster construction, the way that he's constructed our roster is really good. I was with Richie Riley at Nicholls State, and in a very similar league, we didn't make the conference tournament our first year. And Richie was a heck of a coach, had a good plan. So to be able to do that, turning over a roster, 12 new players, a whole new staff that doesn't have a ton of experience at this level, right, and learning. It's been really impressive to watch as a guy that's been fortunate to be at this level for a period of time. Our process is really good. We have great kids, and we were just talking about it. We got 2 games this week, and I honestly think our season could go for a long time. I think we've got good enough players. I think, what are we, 3-1 against the top 2 seeds right now in conference play. And so we've got a lot to play for in front of us. And I think it shows a lot of Jeremy, who he is, how resilient this group has been through ups and downs and learning. And it's hard to win when you're always learning, right? And Coach has done a heck of a job helping us win while we learn some hard lessons, and through tough adversity, he's done a really, really good job.
Yeah, and again, one of the youngest groups in the entire country in all of Division I men's college basketball, yet you look at all of these close games and all the overtimes and everything that you all as the staff and then players have been through too. It'd be easy for those guys to say, because they're so young, to say, oh my gosh, another one like this. At some point in time they break, yet they haven't. Why? Why is that?
Well, that has been one of the harder things. There's no doubt about it. And, it's definitely chipped away. I mean, that's it doesn't matter how close we've been. And it doesn't matter if we've had 10 super close losses, 7 in conference by 1 point or overtime. We didn't get those done, and so those losses do mount up. They chip away at the team a little bit. But I just think it speaks to the character of our guys, the character of our coaching staff, that we've been able to stay resilient and stay together through all this. And it's still a challenge we're still facing and still fighting. I mean, I can't lie to you. It's not easy. But, the more we can get guys in the bunker with us, more that we can, continue to, just be in the process, as Coach Aiken talked about, be in the process, and hopefully that'll lead to some good results this week at home and give us some confidence going into the state tournament.
Yeah, and going into the team, into the conference tournament, what's a major growth point that you've seen from this team? I mean, being able to get off the mat, we've talked about it before games and everything like that, but going from that young group to start, but now they've seen what it is here in OVC basketball. They've seen what it takes to win here, some of them coming over from a junior college level. What's been one of the things that you all have both seen of wow, that team has grown up in that area in a large way?
I've got a few, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on that one.
I mean, I think this team, to your point, has shown a lot of resiliency. I think you just mentioned all the junior college guys we have. We have one guy playing that has any Division I experience really at all. I mean, Lamine played on a Division I roster, but he didn't get hardly any minutes. And so we're playing 9-10 guys that have never played at this level. And I think the realization for them to realize every night that other team has 13 Division I players, right? And to be able to bounce back after heartbreaking losses, to then show up 2 days later and taking a game plan, taking a scouting report, and execute, to me has been probably the most impressive growth that I've seen. I think we talk about all the time, there's been so many guys that our system defensively is unique, right? It's very unique. And there's been a lot of guys that I've seen growth defensively. Our rotations are crisper. Now, we wish it were a little bit a higher percentage of time that's like that.
Right.
But they're figuring out rotations. They're figuring out how to cover the house, how to point and talk, just different things that coaches emphasize. And so for me, it's just been neat to watch Coach manage highs and lows. He did it way better than I ever did it. Been able to be really consistent, love guys through hard times, and show a really steady leadership. And I think our guys have taken that personality on, and that's why it's like they flush it quickly. And Coach probably doesn't think he feels like he flushes it quickly, but me watching our players, they move on to the next thing, the next day, very, very quickly. And to me, that's been probably the funnest thing for me to learn and watch and really appreciate about his leadership.
Absolutely. And I mean, what are some things that you think of stuck out about this team?
Honestly, I know it doesn't always show up, in the wins and losses or even the score, but I think our guys have gotten so much better playing against physicality. I think that's something we've grown so much. I mean, I just remember obviously we beat Illinois State to start the year, which was a more similar team to us. Then we won our second game against a non-1, and then playing against North Alabama, on the road, and they're such a physical, grown man team. And I didn't feel like we competed well enough. I didn't think we knew how to compete. I didn't think it's not from an effort. The physicality, that was to me, the first time really getting punched in the mouth at the Division I level. And then you saw that at certain times also in the non-conference, obviously against a team like Tennessee, but other games also, and even the Charleston Southern game, even that late in non-conference, athleticism and physicality, I thought really, really punked us at times. And so I think we've grown so much. And, obviously losing on a heartbreaker to Little Rock, a heartbreaker to Tennessee State, 2 heartbreakers to Tennessee Tech, who are the 3 most physical teams in the league. I just think there's been a lot of growth. I know we've also lost 2 of those games by double digits, but there's a lot of growth there, even if it doesn't always show in the wins, losses. I think that's helped carry over, and then we're able to finish out wins like we beat SEMO. We beat SIUE twice, and I just think it's that adaptation and that ability to grow and play against physicality and athleticism. I think our guys really come a long ways.
And before getting into some of these games, too, Coach Aiken, wanted to talk about your return to Martin because you coached here before. Yeah. What went into Coach Shulman's pitch to you to get you back here to Northwest Tennessee and be a part of the staff and be back in the Elam Center?
It's funny. I think I was talking to Coach Nick or Truman. So I took a year off from coaching and wasn't sure if I'd get back in it. Didn't know where the future was going to head for me. And Jeremy called me and said, hey, I think I'm going to get a job at a place that you know, and told me where it was. And I think the comment was I'd walk there tomorrow or something like that. And it had a lot more to do with this guy, knowing who he is. He and I have a long-term friendship going back, I don't know, a long time, 14, 15, 16 years, something like that. This was the first guy I ever really got to know when I moved to Mississippi in 2007. And so just watching him win and understanding what type of guy he was, knowing his family, knowing the work-life balance that he would give. I'll be honest, this weekend, I was down in Louisiana with my kids as soon as the Tennessee Tech game ended because he said, man, go. And so you don't get the opportunity to work with a friend or a boss at this level that allows you those opportunities. And so for me, that was the excitement. That was the draw. Martin's great. We won a lot when I was here. But it was this guy more than anything. And then getting back here, I'll be honest with you, like guys like yourself, seeing what Kurt has done with the athletic department, seeing the growth of the town. I mean, there's just so much more to do. Like when I got up here for his press conference that day, we drove around town and I was blown away at what Martin had grown into.
Right.
It's like a foodie little town, and there's like a cool little vibe to it. And so I came up here kind of with a new, fresh perspective. I'll be honest, when I was here 10 years ago, there wasn't a lot going on, and Martin was a place that was just hard. But when I came up here, I was like, man, this is awesome. This is great. I'm excited about it. We've been able to do a lot of fun things as a staff, and I think the sky's the limit for us. I think this guy's done an incredible job learning this level, and I'm excited for what this thing's going to grow into. And so it's been a huge blessing. I tell him all the time, he gave me my purpose back. That year out of coaching for me was hard for a lot of circumstances, but this guy allowed me to get back going, gave me an opportunity to find my purpose again and to pour into these players and the staff. And it's been a huge, huge, huge blessing for me. So I am incredibly thankful for this guy, for this town, giving me a second chance at this.
Well, we're glad to have you back.
Yeah,
glad to have you back.
Yeah.
Getting into I get some of the highs from this past weekend at the Tennessee Tech game. How about AJ? 6 for 10 from 3, gets 16 points off the bench, a career high for him. I know we talk about his rebounding, his defense a lot, but did it in the scoring column there against Tech.
I mean, he's a heck of a player. It's crazy to think about. I mean, he started our first game of the year against Illinois State, and then he dealt with some injury stuff, and then he really got hurt, obviously, in the Tennessee game. And I'm glad he's back healthy and glad he's back playing. I've got so much confidence in him. And here's what I'll say about him, too. Through thick and thin, through ups and downs, he's been the same guy. He's been an energy giver. He's been a great teammate. He's been very coachable. He's just been the same guy throughout. And, I love coaching guys like that. He's just been phenomenal. So to see him have success now has been great.
And TG down the stretch in that one, 17 of your final 20 points, 26, 12, 4, and 3. It seems like every single game throughout this season, looking back at that first game to now, I mean, he continues to get better and impress more and really did, finish in the basketball.
I mean, he's so dynamic and downhill. We've got a couple things to put him in some space. And, he's a heck of an offensive player. I'll tell you what. I mean, he's so hard to guard. Obviously, we've seen in some games, too, he can really get hot from 3 as well. But, when he gets downhill and he's just got a great feel for it and can really score around the rim, can score at a few different levels, does a good job playing off 2 feet. I mean, he was unbelievable down the stretch, especially regulation in the first part of overtime.
And you're getting now to, all the snow that came in. Again, right during the Tennessee State game, and you walk outside, it's just a tundra. It's a blizzard. Were you all able to enjoy the snow day a little bit before going to Tennessee Tech, or was it just kind of like, dang it, we
were out on that bus as quick as we could the next morning. So I enjoyed it because obviously I've got little kids, and it was fun. Obviously, we didn't get a chance to be there a whole lot, but at least that morning before we left, there wasn't much before we left, but that morning for at least a couple hours, just in the see the snow with them was great. And then obviously when we got back, there's still enough snow on the ground. But here's a great thing. So one of my best friends back in Melbourne, Florida, Coach Lynn, and Coach Lynn's in his mid-80s. Coach Lynn hit me and he said, well, I just don't think you can win in the snow. That's what it is. He said, just wait. He said this a few days ago. He said, just wait until the snow's out and then get back to winning. And so he sent me a text yesterday. He goes, guess what? Snow's gone. Let's roll.
Yeah, the snow's gone. The snow is gone. And we're back. We're
ready to roll.
Back to it.
Thank you, Coach Lynn.
Get back to the win column. I love it. Hey, 2 final games here left in the regular season, both of them at home. And that is a huge deal in terms of seeding, be able to play at home, get an opportunity against these teams. Southern Indiana, they've been eliminated from this conversation. But, guys, they beat SIUE 82-68 in Evansville. What a tremendous win for them. And then Morehead State on Saturday, still a good team, just really in a bad slump right now in this second half of the schedule. What are you looking for in this week and getting things going again?
They're 2 really good teams. Mm-hmm. And obviously Southern Indiana hasn't, even though they're done for the year, they haven't given up at all. They just played one of their best games of the whole year against SIUE. So we know that they're still motivated. We know that they've got something going that's giving them some confidence. And so that's the only one that matters right now because that's the one on Thursday. But obviously then we'll turn our focus after that to Morehead State. But we've got to find a way to, beat, Southern Indiana on Thursday.
And do you find it sometimes, I think we asked Coach McMillan this last year too, do you find it sometimes that the Southern Indiana, some of those teams that, they don't really have a lot to play for now, really anything now, that they're tougher to play against than a Morehead State at sometimes because Morehead State they're in, but Southern Indiana, they've got 2 games left. They can just let everything out there on the floor.
This is, again, such a new level for me, so I don't really know exactly on that one, but I would generally think that teams that didn't have as much to play for would pack it in. But, again, Southern Indiana has not – they are playing as confident as anyone right now. And so I don't know. But we'll see both this week. And I don't know, Coach Aiken, you can speak more on that. But
I think the thing about this level, when you don't have, quote-unquote, anything to play for, there's a lot less fear when you come into the game. So you play a lot more fearless, play a lot more free. And then – staffs at this level have a lot to play for, whether they're eliminated from a conversation or not, right? They like their jobs. They like the salary that they get. And so they want to finish their season on a high note. They want to be able to go into portal season saying, hey, we won X amount of games down the stretch, right? And it gives them a chance to sell the vision of the future, how they ended. And so I saw that a lot in the Southland. Teams that were eliminated with nothing to play for would come in and play the heck out of it. So Southern Indiana is good. This is a team that has beat Missouri Valley schools in the non-conference, played multiple Missouri Valley schools really well, has great wins in conference, very talented. And we played really well for about 34 minutes against them. The last 6 minutes, they kind of outplayed us for the last 6. And so our guys need to be prepared and understanding that this is a huge, huge game for us. I'm excited. I told Coach, I think the break came at a perfect time for us. We were able to get away, kind of wash out those 2 games from last week, and move on to these 2 home games in preparation for Evansville. It's like a new season in my mind. Right? You're coming back with a freshness. And so I'm really excited. Really excited for the opportunity for I think we're going to have a great crowd. It's a Code Orange on Thursday night. So anyone that's listening, people Martin, Weakley County, Obion County, we need you to come out because this is a great opportunity to send this team to Evansville on a high note. Because when we get to Evansville, I'm just telling you, we can beat any of the teams in that bracket. And I think we can win a lot of games in 4 days. I think we can go and win the whole thing.
And you know it, too. There are teams that if they get in the first – SEMO, just a couple of years ago, they started out on Wednesday, and they won 4 games in 4 days.
So I told our guys, last time I was here, Austin P was an 8 seed, and they had to win like 3 games in a row just to get into the tournament. And they did, and then they won 4 in 4 days, and they beat us in the championship game. And so I've shared that story with our guys, and obviously we have to execute. We have to be better. There's a lot of great motivation in that, but our guys have to execute game plans. But it's happened. It happened just a couple years ago, like you said with SEMO. So I think the league's wide open. I don't think anybody really wants to play us in Evansville. I mean, I think we get a lot of respect from coaches because of our style. And so I'm excited to see how this week sets us up for next week.
Well, thank you both for coming on, Coach Shulman,
Appreciate
Coach Aiken. We'll go ahead and take a break. When we come back, we'll have head coach of the UT Martin Beach Volleyball team, Jaclynn Wilson, join us here on Skyhawk Sports Talk.
If I quit this season, I still be the greatest.
Skyhawk Sports Talk podcast is brought to you by Weekly Ford Nissan.
Back here, Skyhawk Sports Talk. Davis Gregory here. Joining me now, head coach of the UT Martin Beach Volleyball team, Jaclynn Wilson, as the Skyhawks will begin their quest for a 4th straight championship on Friday. Starting out down in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Going to be a long drive for the team, Coach, but another exciting year starting up and chasing another title.
No doubt. Hey, we're road warriors. We're used to, we very, very rarely don't drive. And, we're good with it. But we're excited. It's been difficult to get out in the sand with the weather. So some uncertainty there, but we're excited to compete and see someone else across the net.
So how do you practice indoor when you can't go out? How many times have you been able to go outdoor?
Any of our listeners that just, want to put up a dome or, do something for us for Santa, it'd be great. No, you raise the net a little bit when you're indoor to try to simulate that because obviously you don't jump as well in the sand.
Right.
We use the beach balls because they're different. They're different in weight and feel. So you haul those inside and work a lot on shots, a lot on hand contact, a lot on IQ stuff, some blocking sequences. There's a lot of different strategy defensively in pairs. So we try to implement some of that, some peel defense things. You have to get creative. And we do some just IQ sessions of kind of sitting, talking, watching film and trying to break some stuff down, trying to make it as productive as possible because it is difficult to be inside. You just can't emulate being in the sand.
No, I mean, you got to, but you still got to find some way.
And you got to practice.
And exactly, you got to get your practice in. So picked second in the preseason poll. And Dylan Mott back here for yet another year, 3-time All-OVC first team honoree. And she's done that with 3 separate playing partners. I think that's the most impressive thing. And it speaks a lot about the teammate that she is, the chemistry that she has with her teammates to be able to do that.
No doubt. She is, she's just a special kid. And she came in really strong in the sand, and we decided to redshirt her that first season because of COVID. It was a shortened season anyways, and I am so thankful we did because we have her again this year. So super excited about that. Dylan plays so much bigger than she is. She's very difficult to play against. She's very disciplined, and she watches the defenders, and it doesn't matter if she's going to go for a cut shot and she sees you break, and then she's going to change and go high line. And so she's just an extremely difficult player to play against. And then her ball control is second to none. And, we've utilized that a lot indoor as well as she played libero. But she's just got such great ball control. She's really controlled in her setting to her partner. It's funny. She's played in high pairs, usually with a big. And most teams avoid the bigs because your smalls are a lot easier to defend, and you'll usually find that when we play pairs they avoid Dylan. And so she's a unique kid. Have loved having her, excited to have a final season with her.
And coming off 16 wins and then 9-1 in conference play, and then got another regular season championship. When you look back on that season, I know not ending the way you wanted to go to the NCAA tournament, how has this team come back and still a lot of returners, and what makes them be able to have another shot to repeat, get 4 straight, and then back to the NCAA tournament?
For sure. I'll say, Chat's picked first, and they're going to be really, really tough. They're really good this year. They have a lot of experience returning, and they're going to be solid. And I'm excited for that. I will say there was a couple seasons we weren't as challenged, and we're going to have our plates full, and not just with them. There's a lot of other good solid teams in the conference. Definitely didn't end the way we wanted last season at the tournament. So, we're working really hard and chasing that this season. We do have a lot of experience returning. However, there's not one pair that's returning together. So I'm excited to kind of see what that looks like. Unfortunately, we had one of our stronger beach kids go down at the end of the fall with an ACL. And so we're going to really miss Amara in the sand this spring. We look forward to her coming back next year. But, I'm excited. Again, we get to kind of jump in it this weekend. I think it's always a little difficult for us in the fall. We're indoor. And then in the spring, we're sand. We have a few beach onlys. But, most of these programs are beach only. And so they're in the sand all fall. They've worked out these kinks. They've developed their younger kids. And we're playing catch up. And then, you throw in the weather. It's just kind of chaos. But nonetheless, those first couple weekends are really challenging. But we're excited to jump in.
And we embrace the chaos around here.
No doubt.
We embrace the chaos.
Calm the chaos. That's what we say.
Exactly. Calm the chaos. Talk about, though, you mentioned the returning pairs, that there's not a single pair that's returning that's together. Or some of the team building stuff that you do to be able to get that chemistry built up. Because when you're indoor, you have all these different teammates, subs coming in on different times. But when you're with that person, you're with them for the whole day. And so you have to have team building, good friendship with that person, and good communication. Yeah,
for sure. And I'll say before we start, I always play with it. Like, who can I see playing together? There are so many that came out this season, like pairs that we are where we are right now. I would have never foreseen.
Really?
No. It's there's a lot of things that like you said, that chemistry piece is so big, and it's unpredictable sometimes. Something just works. And last year, that was Ryan and Addie. They were very successful together, and I would have never paired them together. And in a 3 slot, which is high, and they were very successful. And so we have a few of those this year that were surprises to me. And, team building, we talk a lot about what that looks like, being a good partner. Partnerships go through a lot of highs and lows. It's always fun to start. And then it gets real when, you don't have as much grace for miscommunications or, people not handling their responsibilities and the struggle. It's not the honeymoon stage. And so you kind of, you go through that, and a lot of times partners want to be split, or you feel that tension. But they're about to be at their greatest when they get through it. So it's something, you kind of prepare for it and hope that they can peak and be at their strongest at the right time.
And work through some of those adversities together and everything like that.
It's so good for life in general. And
absolutely,
we have the best group of girls. I love coaching these girls. We have such awesome people in the program. So that part of it's easy. But I'm excited to see him compete this season. And
with Chattanooga bringing back a lot of talent, you also bring back talent, not just Dylan, but Sydney Eckhart and then Ryan Rednauer, both first-teamers last year, and then Olivia O'Keefe, Ginnivalle, and Reagan McGee. What have you seen from those players as well as they've gotten ready for this 2025 season? So much good stuff. And again, like I said, a lot of those names you just named off are playing with people that I never would have paired them with. And I think they are really elevating those partnerships and bringing some of the less experienced indoor players up. Mm-hmm. And it's just great to see. You've got Ryan and Olivia who are older and more experienced, and I think they're really, leaning into that. And obviously Dylan's there too, and Sid. She hadn't been with us all 4 years, but she has a lot of great beach experience. And Reagan, I'm super happy with. She worked her tail off over the summer, and she came in and she's moving really well. She's jumping really well. I've always thought she was really fast in the sand, but very impressed with her level of play right now. But all those returners right now are going to be competing in a 1 through 5 pair, and that's kind of exciting to see. And I'm excited to kind of see them lead in their pairs and elevate the partnerships. And Olivia, she's been a graduate assistant for your staff on indoor. What do you think she's learned? What are some things that she's told you she's learned from that spot that have kind of helped her evolve as a player in the sand? I would never say Olivia was immature before by any stretch, but I do think you're seeing a different level of maturity out of her.
you know, she just got offered a job post college, teaching and coaching, and just seeing her, she's just taken on a whole nother level of responsibility. And I think also seeing some of the frustrations from our seat a little bit. And so she's taken on a leadership role in that sense, and just carrying herself, you know, in a mature manner. And I think a lot of things are kind of being done between her and Kayla that are making Julia and I be able to focus on what we need to be focused
Fantastic. 10 newcomers in this group. What has their transition been like in getting into the sand for those that might not have been in the sand before, and then some that have been, but they haven't been with you in terms of the season?
10 newcomers, that's a lot. It's been, I mean, fun, for me, but you always see, especially the ones who haven't really been in the sand, the struggle. I mean, at first you get out there the first couple of times and it's fun, and then it's awful. You know, the struggle of going from indoor to sand, it's just difficult. The movement's very different. There's 2 people on the court, and your responsibilities are so different. You have to be able to perform every skill versus just play a certain position indoor. So that struggle, I tell them that when I recruit them. I tell them that when we get out there, you just remind them, like, keep grinding. There will be a day that you get out here and it just kind of clicks, you know? And so I think they're kind of getting through that hump. I think it'll help when we can get out in the sand a little bit more consistently. But they're working really hard, and I'm seeing a lot of improvement. And I think a lot of some of the IQ stuff and just learning the game itself has made a big difference for them as well.
And the weather's starting to open up a little bit more.
Yes. We're so excited.
I think we're about to not have any freezing temperature. Well, let me not say that, because then it's going to get jinxed. And then
yes, I hope not.
I'll run the laps for jinxing that if it comes in and y'all can't practice.
You know, and we're not afraid of cold. We get out there in it, but when it's frozen and, you know, trying to make sure that we're not putting ourselves in an injury situation.
Right, exactly.
Over something that we can control. So.
Yep, exactly. Yep. Hey, so Tiger Beach Challenge, Baton Rouge, Louisiana this weekend. How do you look to get off here on the right foot against LSU, Louisiana Monroe, some of the teams competing in that? Yeah,
I don't have any expectations. I'll say, trying to track down a little bit of film because these schools played last weekend. But really just going in with like an open mind. And I always say, and patience is not, most coaches aren't extremely patient, but trying to be patient these first couple weekends and let us learn, let us work the kinks out, and find our stride. And so I don't have a ton of expectation. We're going to go and compete and try to win. We're going to try to win every time we step in the sand, and whatever that means. Find a way to get 3. It doesn't matter who it is and on what day. We're going to lean, and we expect every pair. We've talked in the past, your 1s and 2s are playing the highest talent, and I think it's usually the most difficult to win there. And we lean usually on our 3 through 5s, and that's not the case, I don't feel like, this season. And we've told that, a lot of these girls, the expectation is for every pair to win and for every pair to compete to win and find a way to get that team win. And so I'm excited for that dynamic. And I think with some of the older girls and the experience that we're putting out there, good things to come.
Great. Safe travels down to Baton Rouge, and get back safely. Hopefully you'll bring up some of that Louisiana weather up with you. And
yes, and some wins.
Yes, and some wins as well. Coach, thank you so much for your time. As always, we'll go ahead and take a break. When we come back, head coach of the UT Martin women's basketball team, Kevin McMillan, will join us here on Skyhawk Sports Talk.
If I quit this season, I still be the greatest.
Skyhawk Sports Talk podcast is brought to you by Weekly Ford Nissan.
Back here, Skyhawk Sports Talk. Gregory here. Joining me now, head coach of the UT Martin women's basketball team, Kevin McMillan, as the Skyhawks go 1-1 on the week. Had the trip to Cookeville on Thursday, and then the win against Tennessee State on Tuesday. And now, of course, figuring out some more about their seeding for the OVC tournament and 2 final home games this week. And Coach, going back to that week in action, Anaya Brown, really big week for you all. 24 points, 10 rebounds, 5 blocks on Tuesday, and then 29 and 10, and then 10 for 14 at the free throw line on Thursday. She was impressive.
Well, we kind of have needed this from her all year long, especially with the way both teams were guarding. She was a mismatch in both games and was able to take advantage of it.
And you look at some of these teams, I guess, in the second half of the schedule start to play teams a little bit different. They know more about them. What are some adjustments you're seeing from other teams as they've played you in the second half for the second time, and how have they kind of corrected some things in that first matchup?
You talking about other teams against us?
Yes.
Well, most teams honestly haven't done anything different because they beat us the first time. So when you beat somebody the first time, you typically don't adjust because whatever you did worked. And so we didn't really see anything different from Tennessee State or Tennessee Tech. And also this time of year, your adjustments are very, I don't want to say minuscule, but they're sometimes they're hard to see. You just change one defender onto another person. You start you soft hedge a ball screen rather than hard hedge a ball screen. Just little things. But honestly, right now we're not seeing much different because we're not doing anything that causes you to have to make a major adjustment.
And overall, in all your years of coaching, how have you approached that second half and then coming down the stretch in terms of getting ready for that season and maybe what other teams are bringing up against you? Are you still in that mindset of just what you said, those minuscule adjustments, or have you had to sometimes make larger adjustments to get the team ready for a successful second half?
It depends where your team is. We had a team one year, Jasmine and Heather played, that we were tied for last with Heather and Jasmine at the halfway point. And so I had to come in and make major changes. And then we've had other teams that were undefeated at that point, and you didn't make a lot of changes. And, but typically you can look at it, kind of like a funnel or a microscope versus a telescope thing. You start your season out and your focus is out wide. And just as the season wears on, it just keeps getting narrower and narrower and narrower and narrower until it's laser focused at who you need to be at the end of the season. And based on how good that team is going to, if that laser focus is great, then you got a pretty good chance. If at the end of the year you're still out like a telescope, probably not going to finish very strong.
Yeah, not locked in as much in that microscope type of mindset. And so getting to first game of the week, Tennessee State at Kinley with 20-5, and then Anea with the big game too. Shay has 10, and then Deja 7 points, 6 steals, 7 rebounds, and 4 assists. You forced 22 turnovers, and then they shot at below 35% from the field at 33. Going to Deja first, what's the growth that you've seen from her from preseason to right here with 2 final regular season games to go?
Well, I think anybody that's watched this has seen a major change in her. And like I talk about all the time, it's not linear. There's going to be days that you make big jumps, then hopefully when you fall back, you don't fall very far. So she's gotten a lot better. Has she approached her ceiling? No. And so I think that's where, I still push on trying to get her to be the player that she can be. And the question is she going to get out of her own way and let that happen? And that's kind of everybody's got to make that decision for themselves.
And we've seen Jasmine when she coached at SEMO and then Deja transferring from SEMO. What are some things that you've seen Jazz teach Deja as this year's gone on, and some similarities you see between their games?
Well, their games are fairly similar. You'll have to ask Jazz what she's taught her. There's so much to playing point guard for me, and actually, Deja does not know much yet about that. Deja's doing what she's doing based on her God-given abilities, which are pretty impressive. But she hasn't adopted yet my mentality about what a point guard needs to be for our basketball program and for our team. And I think Jazz is probably frustrated talking to her because when you understand it, it's simple. When you don't understand it, it's like, fourth semester calculus in college. You can't figure it out. It's not that complicated. You serve your team, life's probably going to be pretty good. The problem is in today's day and age, it's become a negative to put someone else in front of you. It's all about you. So that's the challenge that Jazz is probably trying to get Deja to understand.
is point guard probably the position that you're the hardest on?
In my program, the point guard by far.
What are 5 things that you want for any young basketball player that's watching and wants to be a point guard, whether for you or just they want to be a point guard, that's their position, they want to be that in college? What are 5 things that a point guard's got to have to be able to be successful?
Well, I give my point guards, when I think they're ready, a old sheet from a coach, and it's probably got 300 things. Basically, you've got to be a coach on the floor, which means you've got to understand what your coach wants, which means you've got to figure out how to understand why coach does what he does. When you don't understand, you got to be able to get your rest of the team to follow it. You've got to have the skills to back it up at that position. And if you've got this, and there's a toughness about you that if you're going to be a great point guard, you've got to have that kind of toughness. And again, that's not becoming a common quality much anymore. So that's kind of 3 major things with 10 more kind of thrown at you.
And it's not so much because I remember back in my first couple of years at UT Martin with Chelsea and Maddie. I mean, Maddie would basically be averaging a double-double and Chelsea averaging close to 30. But you had Kiana Grant in the backcourt as a point guard. She wouldn't score much, but she would still go out there and, to your point, probably fill those roles that you were looking for in your point guard.
Yeah, Shay tells a story about the first time she came to practice. We were doing something, and she was sitting right next to me, and she's like, I want to learn how to be a point guard. I said, all right, well, watch Kiana right here. Now, if Kiana's a good point guard right now, she's going to do this, and she did it. Then the next time down the floor, I said, okay, now she shouldn't do that, but she should do this, and she did it. And Shay tells the story that I predicted what Kiana was going to do 5 straight times, and she did it. And my point to her was, that's Kiana figuring out what she can do to help this team. And that's her figuring out how to think like I think. And consequently, Kiana won 2 championships. And she was never a point guard till she got here. Mm-hmm. So it's not that you have to be a point guard when you're growing up. You just got to have a toughness about you. You got to have skill, and you got to be coachable. And she had all those things.
And when you were playing in college at Rhodes, were you point guard or were you forward?
I brought the ball up the floor some. I posted up some. I played on the perimeter some. I kind of moved wherever coach put me. So it's kind of a little bit of everywhere.
So then that helped probably in knowing now, like your 5 positions that you've got to coach on the floor. Like you need to be in this spot, you in this spot.
Yeah, I have played them all.
And you've played them all. You're the Swiss Army knife. And so you kind of know, okay, forward right here, player right here. Was there a moment for you, whether in high school or then UT Martin, where it started to click, I guess, all 5 positions where you knew, like, okay, I played that one before. This one's got to do this. Point guard, you need to do that. And everything really just started to kind of click and kind of go in the same way?
That was probably when I started coaching.
Okay.
I understood the ins and outs of each position. And what I probably got more than anything from my career was that you have to put your team first. And I never got to play on a team where you put your team first. So I knew from the bad way that you've got to put each other first in order to be successful. And so that's kind of been our cornerstone for many, 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 many years, and it has been successful. I don't know that we do that very well this year, and I think that's one of our problems.
And one thing that I wanted to comment on, I was thinking about it the other day, actually talking with Bart at one of the basketball games and talking about the health of this team. I know normally sometimes at this point in time there's a lot of players that have banged up and maybe have suffered a season-ending injury, but this year feels like everyone, I know that there's still nicks and bruises on everybody, but relatively healthy. And what does that talk about the team and conditioning and then being able to stay healthy up to this point and still play good minutes?
It tells us that we have no excuse to be playing where we're playing. Last year we had a great excuse not to be a very good team, and we weren't going to take that. This year we don't have that excuse, and we have underachieved, or to this point we've underachieved. And can they figure that out? Yeah, because they are healthy, guys. Y'all, your injuries and nicks and dings are nothing compared to what they have been in the past. So we should be getting this job done. And we've got to figure out, you got 3 games right now. to figure it out. And then hopefully you get a fourth, and hopefully you get a fifth, and hopefully you get a sixth. But yeah, we're as healthy as we've been in years, and I mean years. But what that's told me is that healthy was not, we thought health was the answer. It's not the answer. It's great that we are healthy, but it doesn't matter if you're healthy if you don't have a unit that's locked in together.
Right.
It doesn't matter if you're healthy if your best players aren't performing at the level they're supposed to. It doesn't matter if you're healthy if your team defensively and rebounding doesn't do their jobs. Doesn't matter how healthy you are. But I'll tell you one thing, if you're not healthy and you go get a rebound, it didn't matter that you weren't healthy. You just went and got the rebound. Right. So I would rather have a team that just gets the job done. And so that's one thing I've learned this year is that as important as health is, and you don't ever want to say it's not important, in some ways your mind is way more important than your body, because your mind is – it's like this. If you're out running and you get tired, your legs don't slow down. Your mind tells your legs to slow down. Your mind tells you that you're tired. Your mind tells you that it's hard for you to breathe. Kiana, who's a great example, Kiana never stopped. And I asked her one time, I said, Kiana, how do you keep doing whatever? She was like, I just listen. My mind just says, don't stop. And I just kind of laughed, because I knew that was the answer. And I said, you mean that's it? And she went around, yeah, what else would there be? But when it's so clear to her, other people, that they don't want to hear that, because that's hard. It's hard to do that. It's easy to come up with a reason. Well, yeah, but I'm not in shape. Well, she didn't care.
No.
Well, my ankle's tweaked. She didn't care.
It's taking the mind out of it. It's just,
that's what they want to do.
Right.
And, you're going to use your mind one way or the other. And human nature, you're going to drop to the lowest or the easiest answer. And, your tough, good players don't do that.
Mm-hmm. This week, Southern Indiana on Thursday, and then Senior Day, Morehead State, and they're coming off a win against Eastern Illinois on Saturday. Southern Indiana with 2 straight wins. You talk about 3 games that you have guaranteed left. And, again, we talk about this team so much of they could get in there and be playing in the first round and end up winning 4 straight.
Yeah.
And they could get in there as the number 1 seed and end up, just losing that first game.
Yeah.
But 3 games left, and there's still time to come in here. And, while it is short, there's still time and still opportunities on the table to get to Evansville and be able to have a rhythm established.
You going to tell them that?
I might.
Okay. Well, I think I said at Christmas, guys, we've got the conference season. I think I said halfway through, okay, we've got half the time. I think 2 weeks ago I said we've still got 4 weeks. I've told them multiple times
that they've had time.
And for whatever reason, all of the buttons that I usually push or all of the cards that I play or however the analogy you want to use, for whatever reason, it's not connecting. And so somehow, y'all got 10 days, really. You better figure out how to get something to connect, because honestly, I don't know any other buttons to push to make it connect. So I think this one is going to be up to them. And if they decide to, shoot, they could. Well, you saw it in the first half of the Tech game. Our defense against Tech, I was just sitting out there going, oh my gosh. We covered up for each other. We were everywhere flying around. And when we started the second half, in the first 30 seconds, I went, what just happened? In the first 30 seconds, I'm like, the intensity's not there. The effort's not there. They're not covering up. Wait, why would you do that in the first half and not the second half? I don't. And it was such a thing that I didn't even mention. All I said about the defense at halftime was, hey, you just keep that effort and intensity up, we will be fine. Okay, well, I guess they wanted to see what would happen if we didn't keep that intensity up, just to see what what is that stove going to burn me if I touch it? Okay, hey, touch it. See what happens.
It's red.
Yeah,
we touch it.
Hey, here we go. So, yeah, they got 10 days, and I don't mean to say it's their responsibility or it's their fault or whatever. No. We'll keep pushing buttons, But what I know is this is going to be up to them. And I, I'm going to have to follow their lead. And usually I want them following my lead.
Mm-hmm. And it feels like, too, Coach Aiken said about the men's team, too, and I'll say it about you all. And I said it before. It's just I don't know if anyone wants to play you in that tournament if you get it figured out. I don't think that there's a team out there that
wants to. If we figure it out, you're exactly right. And I think the men's team, holy cow, it wouldn't shock me at all if they did it for 4 straight games because look at the way that they've lost games. You got to think from statistical averages that they're due a few of those.
Right.
So
and we talked to you about percentages.
If they get this thing together, they could make a historic run in this tournament. The only thing is about them is I wonder if the guys know that.
Right.
And I don't know them well enough to ask this next question, but the follow-up is, do you know it? Yes or no? Okay, do you care? That's the big question.
Yes.
And that's the one really, honestly, that everybody's going to say, well, of course they care. Of course they do. Okay, yeah, ask them that question behind closed doors when nobody's watching, because you might get a different answer.
You're probably going to get the real one.
You want a genuine because you can't fake it. You're going to see it out there on the court. But yeah, I think we could make a run. The guys could make a run. Would not shock me at all that one of us was playing on Saturday. I don't know where they are well enough to know if they could. We could get knocked out for one game easy. That could happen. I don't know if they're in the same boat. That's a Coach Shulman question, but they could make a run.
Well, we hope to see you both.
Be a lot of fun.
Yeah, both there on Saturday in Evansville, Indiana. Coach, we'll talk to you next Monday and then throughout the week. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
If I quit this season, I still be the greatest.
Skyhawk Sports Talk podcast is brought to you by Weekly Ford Nissan.
And we're back here, Skyhawk Sports Talk. Davis Gregory here at Zaxby's in Martin, Tennessee. Now joining us from the UT Martin Equestrian team, it's Kate Davis, student-athlete senior from Williamston, Michigan, up north where they have gotten a lot of snow, I assume. Yes. And then you've gotten a little bit more of that now that, you come to Martin, Tennessee. You're trying to escape it. And then now here it is.
Yeah, it was the whole reason I wanted to go down south, and then this past week really crushed my dreams a little bit.
you got around to the wrong part of Tennessee. You got to Northwest Tennessee where there's really no mountains, no elevation or anything, nothing to block it, and you just had to bear through it. Did you have any advice for your teammates that I know some are from Florida and then some from different parts of the country where it's like, oh, we've never seen snow. What is snow? Did you have any advice for them to bear?
Yeah, I picked up a couple girls this week, and then going out of our ag pav, there's a pretty steep hill, and I told a couple of them, don't stop. Once you get some momentum, keep going, because if you stop, it's going to get hard to get rolling again. It
will not be a fun. It will not be a fun ride down if you don't stop with the gas pedal right now. You got to keep on going straight up. So first ever UT Martin rider back in 2021 and 22 to be named reigning freshman of the year in the ECAC. You've got 96 career starts. Does it feel like it's been almost 100 career starts for you?
It really shocked me when I saw the number because it feels like, I've done it a lot, obviously, but I did not know I've done it that many times.
4 more away from 100.
Yeah.
4 more. That's crazy.
It is.
That's a lot of time. That's a lot of time on a horse, a lot of time out there and performing and everything like that. Is there a point where, I know the first one, obviously you're nervous, but the 96th one, come on, I've been out here before. I know what's going on. Was there a moment maybe in the second one, the fourth one, or the fifth one where all your nerves kind of chilled out, or do you still get nervous to this day about it?
I still get nervous.
Really?
Every ride's different. Every horse is different. And even on our home horses, every ride is truly different on them. And so I still get nervous. Going first, you have something to prove. Going second, you have something to beat. And so no matter what, I'm always nervous. I'm always a little shaky. It never really gets old.
We've talked to Coach so many times about Frappe. This is his last season.
Yes.
I cannot believe this. I love Frappe. I want to ride Frappe before he retires. I have to. Talk about, I guess, your relationship with, not just your teammates, but also with the animals too. And then, obviously there's that bond built up with them as, they help you compete and go out there and get wins for the team.
Yeah, so Frappe's on the jumping seat side, so I can't speak about him as much. But we have a couple horses that have been here a while. Tia has been here, I don't know how many years, but I know she's on the older side of our herd. And she's just as spicy as ever. And then pretty much all the other ones, I have some sort of a bond to. Even if I didn't like them at first, now like looking at it, I like pretty much all of them I enjoy.
Define spicy. How is a horse spicy?
She just beats to her own drum. You know, there's no holding her back. When Tia wants to run, sometimes it's best to just let Tia run.
You just follow along for the ride. That's what it is. You just let her go.
Yeah, we always say like you gotta let her rip because otherwise it just looks worse. It looks better if you let Tia be Tia.
She makes you look good.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
It really does.
Trust Tia. That's what it is. We're gonna make T-shirts. Trust Tia for conference championships. I'll bring a sign.
That's you. She'll love it.
Absolutely. I'll have to get a picture with her and everything. It's gonna be great. 4th year here in Martin, Tennessee. You talk about wanting to get away from cold weather and everything. 4th year though here, you spent some time going to get your degree from here. What is UT Martin meant to you?
Oh my gosh. So I had no idea what it would be when I came in. I was COVID, and so I visited, but I couldn't visit the team, and I went on a campus tour, but it was like very modified due to the pandemic. And so I really didn't know what I was getting into. And then this little town has really become home. I had no idea the people that I would meet and how amazing they would be. The horses, the teammates, the coaches, everything has just been, I mean, I'll never forget this place.
How big is Martin compared to Williamston? Is it about the same size?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're almost identical.
If we went to Williamston today, this is one of my favorite questions we ask our athletes. If we went there, what's one place, what's one thing we've got to do if we go to Williamston, Michigan?
Oh gosh, there's not a lot there.
I think we asked Ashton Green from softball, and she's like, "Well, we normally drive like 30 minutes to Evansville, Indiana, so we drive away from where we're from."
That's
to go
what
do the
I
fun
would
things.
recommend.
Okay,
somewhere not in Williamston.
Golly, I mean, what the heck? Y'all got to get some entertaining things about your hometowns. Golly, I'm looking for like, it's the best, I don't know, seafood or steak you've ever had in your life, and then
we do have a really good hole-in-the-wall Chinese place.
Okay, there we go.
It's really good.
What's the name of this place?
I cannot pronounce it.
Okay,
it's in Chinese letters, and so I really have no idea.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It has a purple roof. That's all I know.
Purple Roof Chinese restaurant in Williamston. We're gonna make a trip there. It's going to be awesome. It's senior day this past weekend. Obviously, always an emotional day for any athlete, and 6 other seniors on you all's team. And talk about your bond with them, and because a lot of them, they've spent 4 years here, and you all have built that chemistry and that friendship over these past couple of years.
So our class came in with the same 7 we're graduating with, which is really special. We've been through ups and downs, truly have been through so much together. Like, it feels like we've been to war, even though we haven't. We've all become so close. Like, I have such special memories with each of them. And then it's also really cool that we all get to start, which is really unique because we all have like that in common too. And we all have that feeling of like, your first time in the pen and being there for each other through that. For me, at least, like that's one of the biggest bonding moments is like when we're kind of terrified going into the pen because you had a bad 4 minutes or the horse you drew just isn't quite right for you. But like you always come out stronger, and especially my Western seniors, like we've been through the good rides, the bad rides, the practices where you leave like wondering why you do this, and then the practices where you leave thinking that like you should sign up for the Olympics because you're like the best thing ever. And so yeah, we're definitely bonded forever.
And it's great to see again that whole group of you all being able to stay here throughout the entire time. It is awesome. It is awesome. And now to the newcomers this season, they've all been freshmen. Every single newcomer that has come into this team, they've been freshmen. How have you taken them under your wing, and the seniors too, getting them acclimated to the program and getting them used to UT Martin Equestrian?
They really have made it easy. Like they've all come in and like they're eager to learn. They're eager to help out. There's really been none of them that were like, oh gosh, why is this one here? Like they've all been a joy to have around. And we're really excited for next year because it's going to be like a whole new shift of leadership. Our seniors have really like kind of taken over a lot of the leadership side of things. And so to hand it over, I'm really excited to see who steps up, who kind of finds like their place in the team in a leadership position. And I think that the freshmen are all a really good addition.
And continuing to talk about you being a senior, biggest thing that UT Martin Equestrian has taught you in 4 years, something that you would tell these freshmen of, hey, this is what this program's meant to me. It's taught me in one lesson.
Definitely the saying hard work can beat talent if talent doesn't work hard, because we are kind of the underdogs in a lot of situations. A lot of us don't have like the fancy titles. We don't have huge names in the industry, but we all work hard and we all do the stuff on the backside that some other teams might be able to have like staff that'll help them with it. We put the work in every day for these horses, and we're all really attached to them. And I think that like having such a pride in it, even if you don't feel it as a freshman, by the time you're a senior, like you will feel so much pride for this team and all the hours you've put into helping these horses, building our team from like cleaning tack to cleaning stalls to, you know, whatever else, doctoring a sick horse, whatever it might be.
It builds you. It's Martin made. That's
Yeah.
what it is. You become Martin made.
Yeah.
That's what I'm drawing from this. Is
Yeah.
you now are Martin made. All the seniors, everybody's Martin made. We got to get that freshman group ready to be built up in that. That's
They
what
will.
It is. Hey, gonna go to some cool places in your career this year. South Dakota, Delaware, and then South Carolina coming up here on March 8th. What's your favorite trip that you've taken at UT Martin? Because you've all been everywhere.
Yeah. That's hard. I really enjoy going to South Dakota.
Okay.
Every time we go there, they always have a couple different horses and then a couple horses that we've seen before. But they all have, like, they're all quirky. And I think it's really fun to try and figure them out in 4 minutes. And then South Dakota is a really fun team to play. They're always really nice. Their facility is indoors and heated. So if the weather isn't great,
Oh my gosh.
you can still compete. Because, you know, South Dakota in January, I can imagine would not be fun if it was not
No,
heated.
not at all.
And so I really enjoy going to South Dakota. And then the trip there is always so much fun. Whenever we fly, it's something like crazy happens, I feel like.
Every single time?
I feel like every time we've had some sort of story that you leave with and you're just...
What was the story on if you can tell it, what was the story on this last one?
This last one we had, I think we flew into Chicago first maybe. And then we had a flight that was on a little plane. I believe it was like 2 seats on either side of the row. And the turbulence was...
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but we've had one time we free fell from the sky for a second. I'm sure it wasn't that bad, but like a girl's head did hit the ceiling.
Okay, no, that is bad.
Yeah, it was. I was terrified. It was my freshman year, and I was sitting next to a girl that I did not really know on the team.
And it was her?
No.
Oh,
no.
that would have been so
but
bad.
we both just kind of looked at each other like, if this is how we're gonna go, here we go. Hold on. Yeah.
For the Skyhawks,
Yeah.
all for the Hawks. That's
Yeah.
what it's about. All for the Hawks. Major in management. Once you graduate, what's your plan after?
I have accepted a job with Amazon to be an area manager.
Great.
So I'm excited about that. But my dream is always to coach in the NCEA or IHSA format. And so I'm not giving up on that yet. It's just kind of one of those professions that it's not going to come open until probably around the spring sometime.
Right.
I would guess May.
Well, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Congratulations. So one regular season meet left, South Carolina, and taking on the Gamecocks, and then you've got the ECAC championships, which is going to be in Martin. Invite everybody
Yes.
to come out. That's going to be very exciting. And how do you all look to leave your mark on this season and bring a championship to UT Martin?
We've been reserve all 3 of my years here. And so this is the year we're bringing home the championship. I think we all want some new jewelry, get a
Yes.
ring. And so I think that would be a really cool way to leave our mark. But also we're hoping to leave like a legacy behind is something that we always talk about. Like we want to be the girls that in 2-3 years, some of the girls that were on the team with us are like, oh, like they started this or they built this from the ground up. And so like we always talk about some of the girls that were above us and we're like, oh, like they started this and we're just trying to continue on with it. And so I think we're all really hoping to leave a little bit of a legacy.
Okay, thank you so much for your time. Anything to say for your crowd here? You brought a fan section. They're fired up.
Yes. Thank you guys. Hopefully my filter worked today and I didn't say anything wild.
Coach says you did good.
Yeah.
You did good. Well, again, thank you so much for your time. Good luck
Thank
here in the rest
you.
of this season. We'll go ahead and take a break. Keep it right here on Skyhawk Sports Talk.
If I quit this season, I still be the greatest.
Skyhawk Sports Talk podcast is brought to you by Weekly Ford Nissan.
That'll wrap it up for yet another episode of Skyhawk Sports Talk. Davis Gregory here. Chris Brinkley will be with me back next week to talk about some OVC tournament play, but make sure to follow everything on UTMsports.com. We've got so many sports in action this week. You won't want to miss any of it. Make sure to stay tuned to all of our social medias as well at UTM Sports. For myself, Davis Gregory, all of our great coaches and athletes able to join us here on this podcast, we thank you so much, and we say God bless from Zaxby's in Martin, Tennessee.
If I quit this season, I still be the greatest.
Skyhawk Sports Talk podcast is brought to you by Weekly Ford Nissan.